Hello and welcome to PSM News in English with me, Mariam Shawshat. Parliament of Maldives approves the nomination of Mahaz Ali Zahir to be appointed as a Supreme Court judge. The appointment was approved by votes from 55 parliamentarians. Following the approval for Mahaz, the other name on the list, former Attorney General Fatma Diana Saeed, was not open for vote. The majority party in the parliament and the main ruling party, Maldivian Democratic Party MDP, had issued a 3-line whip to approve Mahaz as a Supreme Court judge. The Parliamentary Committee on Judiciary reviewed the nomination submitted by President Ibrahim Mohamed Saleh to be appointed to the bench of Supreme Court of Maldives. The President nominated 2 names, Mahaz and Diana, with one of them to be appointed to the vacant position left following the removal of Supreme Court Judge Abdullah Didi on August 28. The President submitted the nominations under the powers vested in him under Article 148 of the Constitution of Maldives, authorizing the President to appoint judges to the Supreme Court after consulting with the Judicial Service Commission and with the approval of the majority of the parliamentarians present and voting. On September 4th, the President appointed Dr. Azmiralda Zahir and Aisha Shujun Muhammad to the Supreme Court. They are the first female appointments to the Supreme Court. They were appointed to the 2 positions added to the bench, increasing the total number of judges at Supreme Court from 5 to 7. The committee formed by Judicial Service Commission JSC to investigate the disciplinary case filed against Supreme Court Judge Adha Mohammed dismisses his legal counsel, former Vice President Dr. Muhammad Jamil Ahmed. The decision was announced by Vice President of JSC, Mastur Husni, during the first session of the investigation, which was broadcast live on television. The session, opened for the public and the media, began an hour later. During the session, Mastur revealed Adha Mohammed is currently presiding over a case submitted by Jamil to the Supreme Court. Therefore, Mastur said the committee believes the appointment of Jamil as a legal counsel is not acceptable as it conflicts the interest of both the defendant and his legal counsel, even though Adha Mohammed had now withdrawn himself from the case. However, Mastur said the committee believes the appointment of Jamil was a deliberate act in a case of disciplinary issue which would be separately investigated. Judge Adha Mohammed was asked to attend another session the following day with a different legal representation. The decision was met with the disagreement and protest from both Judge Adha Mohammed and Jamil. The investigative committee overseeing the disciplinary case filed against Judge Adha Mohammed includes Attorney General Ibrahim Rifat, Parliament Representative Hisan Hussain, Legal Profession Representative Abdul Mani Hussain, and President of Civil Service Commission CSC Dr. Ali Shamim, in addition to Mastur Husni, the chair of the committee. Ambassador of Maldives to the UK, Dr. Farah Faisal, presents her letters of credence to Queen Elizabeth II. Following the presentation of letters of credence at Buckingham Palace, a reception was held at Hyatt Regency, London, the Churchill. The event saw more than 100 guests of High Commissioners of Commonwealth countries, ambassadors of SAARC countries, members of Maldives UK All-Party Parliamentary Group, senior officials of the UK government, think tanks, media, Maldivian diaspora and other stakeholders. The event opened with an address from Marshal of the Diplomatic Corps, Alistair Harrison. Delivering her remarks at the function, the Maldivian ambassador expressed her hope for the application of Maldives for re-entry into the Commonwealth to be fast-tracked and thanked member countries and the UK for their continued support. Minister of Finance Ibrahim Amir reveals the state has not yet paid any amount as part of the settlement agreed with Dibaja Investment Private Limited. Speaking at the Parliamentary Committee on Public Accounts, Finance Minister Amir said the Dibaja case is amongst the biggest settlements the state has to bear. Ministry of Finance is negotiating with Dibaja to reduce the amount as Supreme Court had issued a verdict against the state, requiring it to settle the payment, which amounts to $22.530 million. The minister further said the only option available is to negotiate with the Dibaja to reduce loss to the state. In response to questions of parliamentarians, Minister Amir said the only settlement made by the administration so far was the World Link Travels WLT Private Limited due to the illegal termination of the contract by the state. Dibaja was contracted to operate ferries in the North Province during the administration of President Mohammad Nasheed, while the agreement was terminated during the presidency of President Dr. Mohammad Wahid Hassan. In 2014, Civil Court of Maldives ordered the state to pay compensation for the losses faced by the company. However, High Court of Maldives overturned the order, which was again overturned by the Supreme Court of Maldives, stating the Prosecutor General's office appealed the case after the appeal period expired. Therefore, the state was ordered to pay the settlement fees to Dibaja by the Supreme Court. Dibaja was represented at the court by the law firm of former parliamentarian Alhan Fahmi. The agreement signed between Dibaja and law firm stipulates 50% of the settlement amount must be paid to the law firm as a success fee. Meanwhile, WLT was contracted to develop resort islands, which was later terminated without awarding the islands. The government paid $5.6 million to WLT, a company partly owned by Jamhuri Party leader Qasim Ibrahim's villa conglomerate. AntiCorruption Commission of Maldives ACC begins an investigation to the allegations of corruption regarding the development of the park conducted by Maldives City Council. A team from ACC began investigations to the allegations that projects to develop several infrastructure at the park were contracted without tender. The team entered the Secretariat of Maldives City Council and began investigating the documents related to the projects. Council member of Maldives City Council, Mohammad Fazin, revealed Amin Construction Private Limited began developing infrastructure at the park without a prior agreement. He said huge sums for the development of the park were spent from the budget without approval from the council. He added the council did not approve to hand over any project related to the development of the park, although several companies are continuing projects in the area without a contract or an approval from the bid committee. The infrastructure under development at the park include a guard bridge, toilet facilities, an entrance canopy and a lifeguard tower. The Council of the capital city plans to open the park on November 11th, the Republic Day of Maldives. National Disaster Management Authority NDMA arranges temporary housing for victims of the tragic fire on September 20th to stay under state care in Garkushi flats until permanent housing is resolved for them. NDMA explained the victims will be provided with their basic needs and will be provided with a food allowance for the families that stay under state care. The fire victims that lived in rental apartments have also been provided with a 3-month rental. NDMA said all of them have been instructed to rent apartments by the end of the month as part of the efforts to get them back to normal lives. The authority overseeing disasters in Maldives also said some families had already moved back from temporary shelters. According to NDMA, 141 people from 24 families have been living under state care until the end of the month. NDMA also has been making assessments of the losses incurred to households. The assessments conducted in 92 households living in 18 residential buildings indicate 41 households have been completely destroyed in the fire. The assessments to identify the impacts to the building is also underway, while some storage facilities in the area have been demolished after assessments of 31 buildings showed the buildings were deemed unsafe. Meanwhile, the donations NDMA received for its fire relief fund will be distributed to fire victims once the structural assessment of the buildings are completed. NDMA states the amount received in donations so far amounts to $161,854. The tragic fire that originated in a chemical storage facility destroyed 7 residential buildings and 4 storage facilities, killing a 46-year-old woman. The national flag carrier Maldivian starts direct flights from Hanimaduha Dalu Atoll to Cochin, India. Managing Director of Island Aviation Services Limited IASL, Mohammad Rizvi, Chief Executive Officer of Maldives Civil Aviation Authority Hussein Jamil, Parliamentarian Abdul Ghaffur Musa and other several senior officials participated in the function to start the flight operations. Speaking at the function, Rizvi said the arrangement was made to ease transport for locals travelling to India for medical treatment and to provide better access to Maldives for the high influx of tourists, especially to Hardalu atoll. Parliamentarian Abdul Ghaffur Musa said operating international flights to Hanimado International Airport has always been an aim of the administration. He also expected the services and facilities at the airport to improve with the new operations. Maldivian currently operates 2 flights from Hanimado to Trivandrum, India. Maldivian expects to start operating to other destinations in India and Sri Lanka in the near future. Currently, Maldivian flies to Chennai and Trivandrum as part of the 9 international destinations it operates flights. Maldivian will operate 3 flights to Cochin from Hanimado. The return fare from Hanimado to Cochin costs $190. The largest state-owned enterprise in Maldives, State Trading Organization STO, reports a net profit after tax of $6.2 million for the third quarter of 2019. According to the latest statistics published, profits of STO for the second third amounts to a 25% increment compared to the second quarter. Financial statements indicate STO received $142 million in revenue in the third quarter, which is a little short of the $148 million it generated in the second quarter. The gross profit of STO reached $22 million, while it generated a profit of $9.7 million after operational costs. The net profit for the company is $7.2 million before tax. The profit of STO in the first 3 quarters has increased by 30% when compared with the total profits in 2018. STO further said it has generated $6.2 million in net profits after paying over $9.7 million to solve the issues faced by Maldives Industrial Fisheries Company MIFCO, its subsidiary company. Chief Customs Officer Ali Zubair says the newly introduced procedure of advanced rulings will enable business to develop trust in Maldives customs care. Speaking on a program aired on PSM News, Zubair said Maldives Customs is continuously working to provide easier methods for import-export businesses. He further said the institution is continuously working on approaches to clear the cargo imported swiftly. He noted slow clearances result in extra charges for businesses. A method has been designed in a manner that requires fast and smooth clearance practices. The advanced ruling system introduced is expected to increase the speed of cargo clearance process, building trust between customs authority and importers and exporters. The system also allows for greater transparency as the customs duty rates and dates of clearance is visible to businesses. Maldives Customs Service will also provide businesses customs duty information on stocks before the goods arrive to Maldives and even before they are purchased. Customs informed exporters and importers as well as their representatives can apply for the free service. With the introduction of advanced rulings, Customs will communicate the origin, duty rates and classification of goods in advance. Britain will hold its first December election in almost a century after Prime Minister Boris Johnson wins an approval from Parliament for an early ballot aimed at breaking the Brexit deadlock. After the European Union granted a third delay to the divorce that was originally supposed to take place on March 29th, the UK, its Parliament and its electorate remain divided on how or indeed whether to go ahead with Brexit. Prime Minister Boris Johnson, who had promised to deliver Brexit on October 31st, demanded a December 12th election after Parliament, where he has no majority, frustrated his attempts to ratify the last-minute divorce deal he struck with the EU earlier this month. In a rare parliamentary success for Johnson after a string of defeats, his short bill calling for a December 12th election was approved 438 to 20 in the House of Commons. The bill now goes to the House of Lords. Before the vote, Johnson had said the parliament was obstructing Brexit and thus damaging the economy by preventing investment decisions and corroding faith in democracy. The first December election in Britain since 1923 would be highly unpredictable. Brexit has variously fatigued and enraged swaths of voters while eroding traditional loyalties to the two major parties, Conservative and Labour. Bangladesh captain Shakib Al-Hasan gets a ban from all cricket for 2 years, with 1 year of that suspended after the all-rounder was found to have breached the Anti-Corruption Code of International Cricket Council (ICC). The International Cricket Council (ICC) said Shakib Al-Hasan, the national side's captain in all formats and one of the highest run scorers at the 2019 Cricket World Cup, had accepted 3 charges related to failing to report approaches he received to engage in corrupt conduct. The 32-year-old was found to have failed to report 2 approaches he received during a tri-series between Bangladesh, Sri Lanka and Zimbabwe in January 2018, and one related to a 2018 Indian Premier League match between Sunrisers Hyderabad and Kings 11 Punjab. In a statement, the ICC said he chose to admit the charges and agreed the sanction with the ICC in lieu of an anti-corruption tribunal hearing. The ICC said if Shakib observes this suspension, he will be able to play again from October 29, 2020. Shakib recently led a strike by Bangladesh's cricketers, which they called off a week ago when the country's cricket board accepted most of their demands, including pay rises and other benefits. Hollywood media reports the Game of Thrones prequel television series starring Naomi Watts has been ditched by cable channel HBO. HBO declined to comment on the reports. A pilot or first episode for the show was shot in Northern Ireland earlier this year. The story is set thousands of years before the events covered in medieval fantasy Game of Thrones. Deadline said executive producer Jane Goldman had been emailing the cast and crew to tell them the project was not being picked up by HBO, a unit of AT&T's Warner Media. Variety and Entertainment Weekly said they had confirmed the news with industry sources. The reason for the decision was unclear. President of Programming at HBO, Casey Bloys, had told reporters in July after filming finished on the pilot episode that he was pleased with what he had seen. The final season of Game of Thrones won 12 Emmy Awards, including the top prize of Best Drama Series in September. The pilot for the prequel was one of the several Game of Thrones-related projects that were put into development at HBO prior to the end of the series. And that's all we have for you right now. Thank you for watching. Have a very pleasant day ahead. Goodbye.